Greetings, sword friends. Today, let us review this Cloudhammer competition cutting longsword, graciously sent to me by John of RVA Katana. And today, once again, we're joined by my pal Vic and John at Unsheathed Sword Reviews.
Welcome everyone to Unsheathed Sword Reviews. I'm Vic.
I'm John.
And I'm Kane. And once again, Kane Chen is joining us, and this time for an official review. Once again, sir, thank you for coming down here and slumming it with us here on Unsheathed Sword Reviews.
Thank you, guys. Very gracious hosts. You guys should try this. I'm not doxing you, but just putting out there. And cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
All right, so you were gracious enough to bring a rather badass sword for us to review. Why don't you give a brief description of what this is?
This is a Cloudhammer Steelworks competition cutting sword, graciously sent by sword friend John. Not this one. Another John, right? Another know-nothing John. Now, John is an established author, but also the person running RVA Katana Shop out of Richmond, Virginia. He has been the exclusive distributor of Cloudhammer Steelworks, formerly known as Bizer. Cloudhammer Steelworks is a company formed by a Taiwanese business person, Nangong Chang'an, in China, and they have two principal forges, one in Vietnam, dealing with all the Su-hardened steel blades, the other one in Xi'an, making all the differentially hardened clay-tempered katana blades. Now, I assume that this one, being made of SX104V Japanese 2 steel, mono-tempered, is made in Vietnam by their Su-hardened forges. Cloudhammer Steelworks is primarily specialized in Asian sword making, but in recent years, they have dabbled in making European swords as well. Now, John sent one of these European longswords by Cloudhammer Steelworks to Queen's Gambit cutting competition at the HEMA event in 2023 as a longsword to participants that did not bring their own sword. Spoiler alert, the gold medalist at Queen's Gambit used this exact model to win the laurel, and it was taken by Philip Martin to do a detailed review on his channel. Check that one out. However, when I received this sword a couple of months earlier, when I took it out of the box, just per my memory, I could immediately tell this is not the same exact model reviewed by Philip Martin. If you look at the profile, it's got a very similar base. However, it's a little bit narrower, right? And it doesn't have the very pronounced profile taper, resulting in a graceful transition to an acute point. Then I listened to Philip Martin's recount of the profile and distal taper. Obviously, there's a lesser degree of narrowing, especially in the bottom half of the blade. And then it only picks up the pace of narrowing down on the last 1/3 of the blade. This results in a very broad blade, even at the cutting proportion, right? The point of percussion of the blade. But when I look at the distal taper, right, the thinning down of the thickness of this blade, I could see there's also quite a bit of a change as well. The distal taper on Philip Martin's Cloudhammer European Longsword is from 8mm at the base down to 6.5mm at midpoint, and further down to 4 at 2 inches from the point. So that indicates a convex distal taper, meaning the rate of thinning down is slower in the lower half and more in the top half. That's an interesting choice, as many historical examples have concave distal taper, meaning that the blade thins down more aggressively in the lower half and maintain that thickness from the midpoint on. So that results in some different handling characteristics, obviously, but this one does have a concave distal taper. Down from 8mm, the same as the first edition, at the base, down to 5.5mm. So you can immediately see the rate of tapering in the thickness is faster in the lower half on this rendition of the model. And then it slows down and eventually tapers also to 4mm at 2 inches from the tip. So there's some different distribution in the distal taper, but also the profile taper. And if you combine these two factors together, you find the overall mass distribution is more or less the same. So it has a very authoritative feeling. Also, the sword is not exactly lightweight, but also not overweight. The whole sword weighs 1,625 grams. So 3 pounds and 10 ounces. Now, having a 35-inch blade, that's not really light, but also not really heavy. If you compare this to my Albion Principe, has a slightly shorter blade, but much wider in the profile, also more profile taper. That one weighs close to 4 pounds. So this is still very beefy, but not really heavy, okay? It also is on par with my Albion Viceroy. That one is also very substantial feeling sword. So you can see the direction they're going is a sword has enough mass to aid the user, right? That does the work for the user when they swing the blade, right? The blade is fully accelerated. You don't have to do much work to follow through. This will cleave through the mats. You just need to worry about, proper acceleration and stabilization, and also do the techniques. Maybe flex a little bit first. I can see how you want to come. Okay, great, nice.
Wow, it's got authority. This is awesome. I really like this.
Yeah, I think these competition cutting sword, like they are designed to do the work for you.
Yeah.
Like this, once you get it swung, like get it going, like you really, it's not gonna stop. Right? Like you just don't need to commit too much.
Oh, play. Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh.
I want one of these.
I'm gonna talk to John, RVA Katana, see whether they have more samples like in the future. Not maybe this one or some other models. Okay.
Go a little lower.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my fault.
I used to cut pretty high before. I figured out it's just like my fear, like of cutting the stand.
That's like me most of the time.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Yeah. You want to do like a rising cut? Like a rising cut, maybe?
Nice.
Cool.
This is fucking sharp.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
You
That's
did a nice job.
credit to me.
Yeah.
Now, when I first got it, no inch of the edges
Is it peen?
were sharp. Yeah. You can barely see it.
Just
Very, very well done.
See,
I looked at
like,
it before.
in the light, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it. And it's so
One of the
well
best paints I've
ground.
seen.
It's
Yeah.
like completely flush.
Yep.
You cannot.
Like I glanced at it and I was like, oh, it's threaded, I guess. But no,
No.
And I love the aesthetic of that sword.
very
It's like
simple.
There's
very
no
perfect.
nonsense like a warrior sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one thing I hate about it, other than the edge sharpness, is the pull. See, it's starting to unwind. It's
Yeah.
getting undone. Like some part of it, you can see the glue.
Yeah.
And I didn't even use it. I haven't used it. You want to do some more cutting? Because
You got it.
when I get back, I'll do that.
I really like that thing.
Yeah, you can do more with this. Okay, you guys can do the one with caution.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm gonna refrain from cutting with it for now. I'm gonna cut more when I get back. Nice. Shaving off. Whoa!
There we go.
Look at the bottom. You just lift up that bottom.
I like this sword.
Yeah.
This is steel for $500.
Does it come with a scabbard or anything, or sheath, or no?
Yeah. There's a scabbard. One thing I don't like the scabbard
I
is
think
that
it's hard plastic.
it has a very weird smell. Like the cover is definitely not leather. It's probably like some kind of foam.
So this is definitely geared toward being a cutter, like a good
Cutter, like
yeah.
no nonsense.
Yeah.
Like workhorse cutter, you use it at competition cutting, or just practice cutting.
I like that sword.
Glad to hear that.
Nice, sir.
Holy moly!
It like fell and
Yeah, run through. Yeah,
Nicely done.
All right.
yeah.
Sold.
That's pretty fun. All right, I'm good.
I like this sword. God, I like it a lot.
Yeah,
It's
that
fun.
impression.
Yeah. Nice.
I like it.
Glad to hear it. Yeah. People send me this as a review sample.
How did you get your costumes with so many short
Yeah, I get it around.
They didn't stop him and question him though. It was funny.
Not crazy. Yeah. Whoa! Look at that. Look at that. Wow! Even cut that in half. Wow! Check it out. Very nice. Very nice.
That was fun.
Nice.
I appreciate the murder smile first.
Yeah.
You're gonna die.
You're going down.
All stainless
Okay.
steel.
Cloudhammer? Heck yeah.
Formerly known as Visor, and that name is no good. So they changed it into.
Cloudhammer's pretty freaking good for a name.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
What is the mama doing out there, huh?
She's being crazy.
Murder.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Nice.
I like it.
Glad
You
to hear
brought
it.
this?
Yeah. People
brought
send
all
me
of
this as a review sample.
How did you get your costumes with so many sharp
I get it around.
They did stop him and question him though. It was funny.
It was really hard for
Really?
him to swim with all that on his
Is
back.
there like an x-ray thing that's like, what's that? Do you just show them the YouTube channel and be like, it's my job?
He did have to show
He had
that,
to show
that
that.
he was coming to see us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
yeah, you're right.
yep.
You're heading to where? Mill Creek. Washington Mill Creek. Bunch of sword friends. Good time. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. What are we gonna do with swords? We're gonna do a live stream. So I had to show them the channel. Yeah.
Yeah, he
all
didn't
our
sound crazy
channels.
at all, did he?
Prove that I'm not
Oh.
crazy.
Oh, I love
Yeah, we could've
everything
just hidden
about
the channel
this.
right
I hope that was short-lived.
Where are you
Show them
private?
one
I don't know
video.
what
Or
you're
making
talking
all
about.
like terrorist
Okay, you made
activities on there.
pass.
He's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
That's amazing.
They're not crazy.
It's a perfectly sane food to eat. Not crazy.
Whoa.
Muslim men
Look at that.
discussing Muslim issues.
Oh my god. And he's getting pro.
Wow.
Nice, you got
Nice
it too.
Yeah.
done.
Good job,
Yeah.
girlfriend.
Isn't that sword something awesome? Like that's something like ridiculous about
It's
that
called
sword.
the Cloudhammer.
Yeah. No, that's
I like this one. Makes me feel like a badass.
Doesn't it move better than you think it would when you first pick it
Yes.
up?
Yes. And it was a lot easier to get like edge alignment with it too.
The story of this sword is that they sent it to a cutting competition at an event called Queen's Gambit, and
Queen's
some people
Gambit.
didn't.
Yeah.
Some people didn't bring their own sword, so this is a lone sword. Everybody could use it, and leveling the playing field, right?
Oh.
And guess what sword won the gold medal? This one. Not the other swords, like not the Principe.
Not the expensive ones.
Like a $2,000 sword. This one.
What's the price point for this?
500.
Okay. That's not unreasonable. I like it. This one's cool.
I like that sword.
I think this one's my favorite.
Customer
so
testament.
far.
Testimony.
Horse.
It was a lot tougher.
Is it?
You're a machine.
Well played, sir. It's almost like somebody said you have natural cutting form. Who might that have been?
It's like
remember, who was
war holds everything in place, and he just powers through. Right?
That was fun.
That was fun, man.
That's a good sword. I
Yeah.
like this sword.
Good feel, right?
Yeah.
Look at her face. Look at how furrowed her head is. She's so
Right?
concerned.
All right, I'm
Concerned
gonna.
about you too.
Nice. That wouldn't have fallen if it was a little bit wider.
Yeah.
It went just like straight down.
That's a pretty good cut.
Oh, really good cut.
You're awesome, by the way. Thank you for doing this.
You're awesome. Thanks for letting me play with expensive swords.
Ready? I'm ready here.
Nice.
I appreciate the murder smile first. You're gonna die.
You're going down.
This is severed in two.
Yeah, and so fast.
That was a good cut.
That's a very
so
good cut.
quick. You can see where it went through.
Still a few more.
I want to do one again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Check it out.
Nice.
Very nice.
That's fun.
I'm glad you're on my team.
Yeah, because that's not my. This is my strong side. That's the weak side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're welcome.
You like
Good
it,
luck
right?
to everyone. Yeah,
It's
this
got
is
weight,
fun.
right?
It's got heft, but it's balanced. Again, it's not unwieldy.
Right.
So yeah, it's balanced. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it wants to do.
Yeah.
Like-
That's funny. That's exactly the same reaction that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something can have weight to it, but if it's balanced properly, it still feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a badly versus a well-packed backpack.
Yes. Like literally, it's making use of what it has.
Is it fighting you or is it moving with you?
Yeah.
Try this. This is not easy. Like it usually
Like a
needs
Gatorade
very
bottle.
rigid and very good edge on. No scooping.
Nice. John said challenge accepted.
How is it? Pretty strong.
Perfect.
Not bad.
Yeah. You want to give it a shot?
I think I'm okay. Thank you though.
I'll do one more.
Nice. Well played, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do. Awesome. I'm buying one of these.
I always appreciate how there's always going to be one little patch in
Yep.
my yard that will always be green.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Just as I suspected, this edge is just not sufficient. Very toothsy. See a lot of burrs and tear. Those of you who think this is easy, look at the edge. edges of the carton, it's all ripped out. So much tear. It's a very toothy edge. Here we have the fortune comparing these two swords. One is Vic's Vision Strasbourg, Type 18B sword designed by Angus Trim. So this one is pretty much the most iconic, Gus Trim design. Very light and lively in hand. Like you can use it as an arming sword, but it's still, it functions extremely well as a hand and a half sword, like a long sword. See how much space you can have. Use the leverage, but you can also, choke two hands together a little bit more. Give it a little bit more stability. If you don't want to rotate the blade further out to extend it further. But this weighs about 10 ounces. lighter than the Cloudhammer Steelworks. You can look at their profile to see, lengths are pretty comparable, but this one has a very typical Type 18B profile, silhouette. It's transitioned to a more acute point as this one. So on the upper portion, you can see the Cloudhammer Steelworks blade is wider on the upper portion. Right? It's not as thin, even though it still has a very good dissipator. But Gustrum design vision for it's quite same over here. So just when we talk about just agility alone, however you position yourself, you can just lash out, do acceleration, and stop wherever you want. Whereas this one is a train, like John aptly put. Yeah, once you get it going, to stop it requires a lot of effort. So you might as well just redirect it. Yeah, but I bet this one does a lot more work for you, given how much more weight there is on the upper portion. But it's not. There's authority, but it's not blade heavy. Right? It's blade heavier than this one. It's a very high bar, but it's still it's a authority-oriented sword. Yet the point of balance is pretty close to the hilt, 3.5 inches. So it balances between maneuverability and the overall authority in the swing. And doing a drill with this sword is quite a workout, right? Not as much as you would with a true two-handed sword like the Albion Massimalia, of course, but still, it's no easy task. But with any of Gustrum's two-handed swords, it's such a breeze. You barely feel anything. There's no stress or fatigue or anything. So, but against if you compare this against average medium weight medieval longsword of this blade type, I think it's still a little bit more blade heavy, but it's still for the purpose, for the intent and purposes, as a competition cutter or something you use in the backyard for test cutting, practice cutting. I think it's pretty perfect.
We can see that this change does have an impact on the visual aesthetics of this sword. Somehow, this sword feels quite a bit stout, right? More so than before because of the lack of profile taper. Now, some Chinese makers enjoy making blades that's akin somewhat to Chinese jian. And what do I mean by that? There's not a lot of profile taper. There's some, usually 30 to 40% from the base to the tip, but it transitions to the tip is very close to the tip, almost like 1 or 2 inches from the tip. It's a very abrupt transition, resulting in an arc. But on this one, you can see while the transition is much shorter than before, the former rendition of this model is still quite a bit further away than most Chinese-made European swords. So it's a profile that's plausible, on historical swords. It immediately reminds me of 2 swords. One is the Schloss Erbach longsword, formerly in the possession of Jörg Oakschak himself, a Type 18B blade with relatively short transition to the tip. But that sword has a broader base, also a very substantial longsword, good for cutting. The other one is a much longer blade, the Wallace Collection A474. It's a 2-handed sword of English style. It has this level of profile taper. It's not very pronounced in the lower 3/4 of the blade, and then it picks up the pace to a somewhat acute point, not as acute as many Type 18 blades. So this immediately reminds me of that, right? However, it's much shorter. Now, this does result in a very substantial sword, right? Not only it has a lot of mass, but also you can see it's very rigid, much more so than many of the lighter weight longsword. If you compare this to the Angus trim designed Vision line Talbot or Strasbourg, manufactured by Valiant Armory, that sword is a lot lighter, much faster than this sword, but it's a little bit more flexible. So this stabilizes the cut quite a bit. So the blade is rather forgiving to cut with edge alignment slightly off. You can still power through the target. So it's really good for competition cutting. And also, if you compare to even the former rendition of this model, because on the upper portion of the blade it's broader, but not as thick, right? This means that there's a smaller edge angle, meaning that there's less resistance when the blade passes through the target. Of course, this also enhances the cutting capacity. So all in all, the entire design of this sword just speaks to practice cutting, competition cutting. And if you look at the aesthetics, right, the look and feel of this sword, it has a very no-nonsense, very stern feeling to it. There's no attempt at making fittings with any elaborate geometries. The wheel pommel is very simple. It's huge to counterbalance the blade, but it's very thick. And the transition from the edge of the wheel to the central hub is completely flat. All the edges are chamfered. There's no discomfort, even though it's a wheel pommel. It's really comfortable to use, especially with such a long grip. The grip is 12 inches long, just in the grip alone, right? Not counting the other hilt parts. So there's enough room for you to utilize the leverage, right, to do these quick cuts, but also just big wind-up cleaves, powerful cuts. But you can also obviously bunch up two hands to stabilize a cut, no problem, because there's enough space. And the grip is wrapped with this paracord-like substance. I don't know whether it's synthetic or not, or cotton or something, but it does the job, right? It's actually quite similar to the spiral leather wrapping on the Albion Principe. It offers a lot of traction to your hands, but it's not really that good looking comparing to the more premium core impression on leather wrapping with risers on many of the high-end European longswords like Angus trim swords or Albion swords, Valiant Armory swords. This does not feel as premium, and there's some problem in the core wrapping. You can see it's a little bit loose. There's no glue to secure it to the wooden core, so you can move the core a little bit to reveal the wood underneath. It's not really that loose to come, unraveled, but we'll see whether this will become a problem in the future with prolonged usage. And transition from the grip with the wrapping to the fittings are relatively well done. There's not a lot of ledges. However, on the cross guard, you can see there's a central ridge. And I think this is a bit of a problem, because if you look from the side of the grip, you can see there is a small ledge, okay, and this will cause some discomfort. Even though the edges are chamfered, it still can rub on your thumb or your index finger. Of course, when you do the thumb grip, putting your thumb on the flat of the blade, this protrusion of the central ridge, it's a little bit uncomfortable, right? And also, it makes the central part of the crossguard overly thick. So when you rest the thumb on the flat of the blade, it kind of dig into your finger. My suggestion is that get rid of this central ridge, You can have some tapering, right, swelling in the center, but makes it fit the thickness of the grip perfectly, just like the one on this Albion Regent. Okay, you don't even need to do any decorative fireworks like on the Regent. Just do a whole one piece, flat, perfectly utilitarian, and that fits the overall look and feel of this sword just as well. And when I took this sword with me on the trip to Seattle, we did a lot of cutting with this sword at Vic's place with Vic and John and their ladies, Deborah and Kiana. Check out their own reviews of the Cloudhammer Steelworks European Longsword on Unsheathed Sword Reviews. And spoiler alert, they love the sword, especially John, who expressed quite a few times of his intention of purchasing this sword. One thing I have to mention is that even though the blade is really well done, if you look at the planes of the diamond cross section, all four surfaces are very smooth and flat. There's tiny bit of rippling, not too much. Central ridge on both sides are extremely straight and with good amount of symmetry, on the edges. So well manufactured. But the edges, both edges are rather dull. Not just dull, but also very rough. I ran the finger down both edges when I received them. It's rough. It's getting here and there, and it's very even from the base to the tip. I took it to a bell grinder and worked on it for half an hour. Now it's literally shaving sharp. Now I have to mention that bell grinder is an add-on of the Worksharp Can Onion Edition. Previously, I used just a default setting, and so this new add-on is kind of a new thing to me. I have to get used to it. So I accidentally scuffed the blade on several spots, so diminished the overall aesthetic value of this sword, but it doesn't really stand out, okay? Especially with the new micro bevel I created. It just adds to the overall utilitarian feel of it, because this is not really a sword of bling, right? There's no decor or anything on the overall design. Despite the scuff I created, I literally made it hair-popping sharp. And unfortunately, John didn't realize this when he cleaned up the blade after cutting and accidentally slid through the paper, the kitchen towel, and cut into his finger. And I really feel sorry about that, although at the same time, it's a testament of the sharpness of the edge.
Really, I genuinely love the way it looks, and I really like the way that it handles. And also, I can attest to the fact that Kane, who put the edge on this sword, did an excellent job. Because as I was drying it off with the paper towel, I had a oopsie.
Yeah,
and
I apologize.
No, don't apologize. It means you did a good job.
Yeah,
Right?
it's now imbued with
Exactly.
John's
Right.
blood. I officially named this one John's blood.
It also tells you the quality of edge geometry. It's a very flat diamond cross section. There's no really any amount of convex geometry until the part near the edge. There's a little bit of apple seating, making this a very durable sword, durable edges. And I have to elaborate on the use of steel, the blade. The blade is made of SX104V, essentially Japanese 2 steel. You can also call it a super steel, because in knife making world, super steel just means steel with high carbon content, so you can harden it to an extremely high degree on the edge. And this is the case for this steel, and particularly the way the heat-treated edges are supposed to have good retention of the sharpness over a long period of time, so you don't have to sharpen it frequently. And the hardness on the edges are 57, so that's pretty high. Higher than Albion swords, which are between 54 and 57, and some other swords. And the steel, when correctly heat treated, is also very resistant to lateral force, against bending, taking a set. Of course, it has good flexibility, right? Even though it's rigid, you can see if I flex the pommel, smack on the pommel, you can see there is good amount of flexibility. If I smack this on a tree trunk with good amount of force, it will flex and come back to true. It also comes with a scabbard. Now, this is a wood quartz scabbard with leather wrapping on top, and I will talk about the leather, so-called leather on this one. It's a good fit. First of all, it's a good container. If you want to travel around doing, cutting competitions, you don't really want a fancy scabbard because there's a lot of chance to scuff off the scabbard if you have a custom bespoke scabbard made for you with all the fancy fittings like the one format Albion prints. You don't really want to take it to events around the world. But for this one, it does the job of not just a shipping container. You can walk around with this. It looks perfectly historical, wood core, rigid, with some wrapping on top. But I don't think this is leather because, oh god, the smell, it's very synthetic. It's not very pleasant. And you really want to wash your hands after touching this. So my guess is this is some kind of synthetic like foam, because I usually detect this odor on some of the sports equipment using foam, especially from China. But otherwise, it looks good enough. Like the form of the scabbard fits the silhouette of the blade rather well. There's no shape, metal parts, or a locket at all. The stitching on the back is very prominent. It reminds me some of the stitching on some cars. It's very thick cord, and yeah, it does the job. It's perfectly functional, and there's no belt attachment or anything for that. So you just have to carry this with your hands, unless you want to do some modification yourself. And this is perfectly fine. If you go to a competition cutting, you're not using the sword, as some kind of decoration by your side, at the Renaissance Festival. It's not a bling sword. It's not a looker. It's a workhorse. I would say that this is a perfectly fine scabbard. Addition to the value, of course, you can make your own scabbard, but I don't think that's necessary. So the only bit of suggestion I will make is that perhaps make the cord wrap using more traditional material, or have a leather over wrap. This is working fine, but I don't know how much longer the cord can last, because you can just push the cord around and see the wood underneath. Of course, if you have the skills, you can unravel the cord and reshape the wooden core and then do a leather over wrap yourself. Or you can send this to someone like Matthew Cross for them to do it for you. I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with his work. And at the same time, you probably can ask Matthew Cross to sharpen the blade for you. He's a really good sharpener. But if you have skills yourself, obviously it's going to save you some money. Just spend some time doing it. Just be aware, right? These usually come with not very sharp edges. And I did do some cutting with the default edge, and I kind of embarrassed myself. I don't want to do that again. Right now is a beast, right? Unleashed its true potentials. But the default edges are just not good. And this is the case for pretty much all Cloudhammer Steelworks mono-tempered blades, whether it's on katana or on Chinese swords or European swords. You just have to do the additional work on the edges yourself. And they're somehow never that sharp. That's the case for the 3 Cloudhammer Steelworks katanas. They're of really good geometries, right? Very good, unique curvatures, but the edges are not sharp. And it took me some time to sharpen the 3. Afterwards, they cut extremely well. I highly recommend this sword, and check out Sheet Sword Review's unique own take with me by their side. Also, numerous cutting footage linked in the description below. And thank you to my gracious hosts at Sheet Sword Reviews. It was a blast spending a weekend with Vic and John and the ladies. Check out my other review done on this trip, the Angstrom Type 13B Army Sword, also in collaboration with Vic and John. And if you enjoy this review, find any value or entertainment, please like and subscribe. Ready?
Alright, we're a little canted, huh?
Yeah. There we go.
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Should we get the light on it too then?
I mean, if you want to, it's going to be more,
It'll just take 2 seconds.
Okay, yeah. He's going to get the light box.
It's worth it.
Really use. Well, usually for first impressions and stuff, when we're handling the swords, we don't do the light box. But for reviews, we like it to be lit up.
Let's light it up. It'll look better. I really like this sword. I want to highlight it.
You guys are really organized.
What's
When
funny
you
is
say that, wait till you see the light.
yeah. So this is where we're like, okay, we need to find a way to light the sword. John's like, I got it, and he just built this himself. So I like to think we're controlled chaos, like you know what I mean? Not quite organized, but just enough.
Yeah, by the way, we're being recorded.
Oh yeah, well, we're running on everything, so this could be.
This is like after the behind the scenes. Yeah, really for Patreon.
Yeah, really for the Patreon. This is for the $5 and up tier.
Yeah.
The $1 tier gets the autograph picture of John.
Wow. Holy moly!
Yep.
What?
Keep
Check
it
it
classy
out.
here.
Yeah.
Cheat sword release.
I hope it's not a pinky lighting like masochistic.
No.
Oh
Yeah, he does have it like that.
Yeah, my wife is like, what sound is this? Why is she get a pimp or something?
Yeah.
What's a pinky?
It's all about framing. We just keep it slightly off frame and it doesn't look ghetto. Although we like the ghetto here, so.
It's a little look behind the curtain here. Okay.
Yeah. And this is actually how I envisioned it exactly. Like initially, I thought like this is your setup, and then you're gonna have just a stand right outside.
Right.
And once you set, you're cutting at Scott's place or something. Wait, you go to Scott's place?
Well, and Scott's like, he's like a 40-minute drive from north. So like, again, when we can get together to do that, we do, because he has a really good view on a big hill, but most of the time we just got here.
There we go. That's pretty cool, right?
I like it.
Cool. Wow. All right.
Really pops.
Yeah, right. That makes it look like a magical sword.
That was actually Callie Blade's idea. We reviewed their kukri and they're like, hey,
Okay, John.
oh, okay, Chen, my bad.
Yep.
Find a way to light the swords, that'll make it look better.
Yeah.
Like, Callie, All right.
All right, you want to do the intro?
Yeah. Welcome everyone to Unsheathed Sword Reviews. I'm Vic.
I'm John.
Kane.